All right, we'll get started here in just about a minute or so, okay? All right, we'll call the June 12th meeting of White County Board of Education work session to order. Appreciate everyone being here this evening. We'll take this time to go through the consent items of consent on our agenda tonight, and then we'll walk through that, see if there's any questions. If anything, board member has something in the consent that you wish to have more discussion, deliberation on, we'll pull that out and stick that in the new business as we typically do. So we'll walk through our packet just to make sure that if there's any clarity or any questions, we can address those. The first item was had a lot of meetings in May, and so we're going to be reviewing the minutes that were taken for those meetings. So the first item was the monthly meeting held on May 8th. That was our regular meeting. We had the minutes from that meeting. Any questions or corrections need to be made on that? Also included was the work session minutes from that same May 8th meeting. Any questions, comments on either one of those documents? Okay, if not, moving on, we'll go. We had a special called budget workshop on May 27th, where we had just a general discussion on the school nutrition and general purpose school budget fund for fiscal year 2025-2026. So any questions on the comments on the workshop meeting minutes? Okay, if not, we'll move into the minutes for our school budget meeting that was held on May 29th. Any questions, comments on that? Appreciate the author of the document putting that together, because there was several motions and amendments and redactions, and so appreciate putting that in for clarity. Okay, if not, then we'll move over to budget amendments. We have several budget amendments and transfers for this month that we want to review. So all these are general purpose school funds, and then I think there might be one nutrition budget item.
There actually, there's a general purpose school budget as first one is, actually it's not true. General purpose school budget, the first one is for the Doyle project, transfer of funds to do that project. It's out of capital project funds. That's the $1.98 million. And then there is a general purpose school fund 141 a budget amendment in the amount of $181,424. That is going to be to upgrade the HVAC air handlers at the vocational building, and that's money that we also have in a separate account that's outside of our normal budget that was set aside for that. Next, in general purpose school fund, amount of $48,680. This is for summer learning camp. These are grant funds that we receive for summer school, and we're just allocating them, moving them to different line items to finish out that program. Then we have our volunteer pre-K. This is our general purpose pre-K fund. This is end of the year cleanup. I'm going to use some of that money to purchase some playground equipment at Bondycroft. They have a new playground area. We had to extend that because of the fencing, and so we're going to move. We had moved their playground way out in the back of the property. We're moving it back to that area, and we're going to add another piece of equipment there. Next, Fund 141 is an amount of $22,721. This is custodial personnel and building contents insurance, just clean up end of the year, moving money to pay for some insurance out of extra custodial personnel funding that we had. Next one is in the amount of $99,000. Again, another cleanup budgetary item. We're going to transfer extra money we had for teacher salaries. That's going to pay for substitute teachers. We were, I think, 66,000 over in, or 68,000 over in certified subs, about another 11 over in non-certified subs. A lot of that is maternity leaves, PPL, and just a lot of teacher absences. So we transferred money to clean up that budget item, that deficit. Next is General Purpose School Fund 141, the amount of $28,500. Again, just clean up at the end of the year, moving some monies over from custodial personnel and evaluation testing, those categories over to where they are needed. I want to make note, there's $1,000 there that says, how's that listed? Director
of Schools.
Director of Schools. Yes, that is, I get my $1,000 when I reach all my in-service trainings with TOS and all the PD that I go to. It's listed as career ladder in the original line, but we can't show it as career because I'm not a career ladder teacher, so then it's switched over to other salaries and wages. So just will make clear I didn't give myself a $1,000 bonus. But that's customary as I finish my training each year, that's how I get paid for that. And that's all those budget items, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Thank you for the explanation on those.
Mr. Chairman, one quick question, and it could be I'm thinking of a number from my own work, but for the Dole expansion project, for some reason 1.7 sticks in my head. Am I right?
Yes, Mr. Markham, you want to speak to that?
Yes, that's true. That was the contract amount.
I need to get him a microphone. Okay. Thank you.
So that answered my question too. I was looking back on some things and I saw the 1.7, so that was what I was going to ask. John beat me to it. So, but is that, I mean, 1.7 was the budgetary number that came through, correct?
The bid number.
The bid number?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So that was the bid number, and that also included contingency amounts in it. So in case we run into something, then we will, have that money already in the contract. If not, then it'll get amended back out of the contract, and we'll get that money back. So this number here is really kind of a all-in high number, that we estimate high to make sure that we have enough money in the budget for that. But the contract for the architect and engineer is a percentage-based contract, and so it's based on that. And then we also put some money in this amendment for network cabling and stuff to finish out the classrooms once they're done.
Perfect. Thank you.
Good questions. Any other questions? I just think it does stand to note that when our employees are out, it does cost us money. Yeah. So, all right. So those will be the amendments that will be under our consent agenda tonight. All right. If no further questions on that, then we'll.
Can I make one comment on that?
You can absolutely make a comment on that.
I believe Miss Sally's not here, but I believe the number. I think we have $200,000 in that line item for substitutes, and we went over another about $88,000 over that. So, a couple years ago, I took a lot of flack for trying to work on our absentee rate, and I'm still open to suggestions. There are, some things we'll look at. We could do a attendance bonus at the end of the year. We talked about bonuses, and I think, we had a lot of good conversation. The board had a lot of good conversation about bonuses. And really, bonuses would probably be a better time to talk about this time next year. It's not applying them on the front end, but on the end of the year when you know, okay, say we have $2 million we're going to put back in the bank, we can afford to take 200,000 and pay bonuses to people. We may want to consider looking at maybe some attendance bonuses. I know that's been done some other places. I'm going to look into, I know that another district that's doing that. I'm going to look into what that procedure is. But, we certainly, I always encourage people to use their days, their personal days as they like and as they're approved, and certainly use sick days as applicable. And if they're sick, that's what they're for. But we're using a lot of days and going way over. And, we were about 30%. So anyway, just want to share that and where we are and what those numbers are.
Yeah, that's probably equivalent to about 5 full-time employees.
Is that typical to be that much over?
It's I don't know. I have to go back and see how far over we are, but it's been an issue in the past several years. I feel like we have way too many absences than I think. I mean, just being careful here, but I just think we're missing a lot of school. It's important. I mean, we can't teach kids if we're not there, and just like we can't teach kids if the kids aren't there. We work really hard at making sure that we have a 90% above attendance rate for our students. We're proud of that. We work really, really hard at that, but that's not what our attendance rate is for our employees, and so just want to point that out. But we have really hardworking people. I'm not saying that they're not doing a great job. They are. We have the scores to show it. We have a lot of absences. And the PPL has not helped. The PPL has created a lot of expensive absence reporting. And so we're working on that. That's one of the policies that you all are looking at tonight. But that's certainly not helped things because we're paying for those teachers to be out their full salaries, and then we're paying in a lot of cases certified teachers to come in and fill, which is really expensive as well. So anyway, just wanted to share that information.
Okay. So we'll move on. Those are budget amendments. Next item is we do have our budget proposals for 2025-2026. Our federal programs, Fund 142, which covers Title I, Title II, Title IV, IDA Part B, and our preschool. And that totaled, all those totaled approximately $2.5 million worth of federal funds for that, rounding up a little bit. But, so those are up for approval for us to approve tonight. Would you like to speak to any of those, Mr. D?
Yeah, I'll let Ms. Sheila Felton, who are our federal program supervisor, speak to any specifics. But in a nutshell, we're dealing with Title I, which deals with low-income families and students and their education is what that funding is for. Title II is a lot of teacher improvement, PD, things along those lines to help our teachers teach better. Title IV is coaches, how to improve the teaching environment in your buildings. And then IDEA Part B, of course, is our special ed funding. And then, of course, our IDEA preschool is our SPED preschool funding. So I'll let her speak specifically. Basically, I think right now our numbers are what they were last year, but we're not sure that those numbers are going to stay. And there's also some interesting spending criteria as well. So I'll let her speak about that.
Yes, I think the federal government is just in a turmoil of what they're giving to us, or the state's in a turmoil trying to figure it out. For our budget-wise, they actually gave us the exact same amount of money that they gave us last year. So they're not even sure what they're giving us. And the interesting caveat with that is they said spend 1/12 of your budget every month. And usual thing, it's spend it quickly, spend this year's money on this year's kids to let it benefit the kids. And now they're saying pace yourself, only spend 1/12 at a time. So just divide it and spend it monthly. So that has everybody of interest of what's staying. I actually was Monday and Tuesday at a federal programs conference. It's not State Department people there, it's just the people in my position across the state. We have our own association. There's a lot of thought whether Title II and Title IV are actually going to go away this year. So it's just all left to, we don't know, and to spend wisely and slowly. But most of this budget is for Title I, most budget, it's teachers that do intervention and teaching assistants with that. And the other majority is air coaches that we have, the instructional coaches.
So, Ms. Felton, just a quick question on that. So basically, are these firm numbers, or are these their proposed?
They're exact same numbers they gave us last year,
Okay.
just so we would have money to begin budgeting. There was quite the conversation at the conference I was at that, how much you got on a limb to be doing things that you wouldn't usually do. An example, a lot of districts hired instructional coaches with ESSER, or hired additional people with ESSER, and then they're trying to pay for those people with these funds. And some districts chose to not hire those people. We're fortunate that we didn't go out and hire a lot of new people with ESSER funds. But this is all basically proposed and spend very slowly, a month at a time, I think, until they figure out how much we're going to get. We
Okay.
haven't gotten a lot of information other than spend a 12th each month.
Okay.
And we've never had that before. In 10 years I've done it, we've never heard spend slowly. It's usually spend quickly to benefit the children that year.
So last year we had a little issue where we got into the year, or almost at the start of the year, and that budget number got reduced. We ended up having
That was
to.
the end of the year prior, yes.
Yeah, that was the end of our 23,
23,
24. So we just,
We're going on a wing and a prayer right now. That's all we have.
yeah, I think board members, we just need to keep that in mind so that's not a surprise to us as it was last year.
I see a lot of wheels turning up there, but sorry, we just don't, and that's what we all said. We feel bad that we don't have information to give you because we just don't know.
And it's a shame that we don't, going into budget next year, I think we need to take these two lessons learned from these past 2 years regarding federal funds, because we may have to add some contingencies in there, because that's going to come out of general purpose funds if we're going to continue the program.
And one thing that's missing this year is I usually have a Title V category, and we would use that to pay for an instructional coach and half of another one, and we did not qualify for that this year because we do not have enough low-income students based on the 2020 census. So it just now caught up to us for the 26 school year.
Yeah,
That,
economy
they'll
change.
take that away. But
Economy.
it's not always like you can get it back the next year. It's a year-to-year thing. So
Yeah.
not much explanation of why that took so long to catch up to us.
Yeah, economy changes a lot in 5 years. All right, thank you. Anything else on our federal budget for Fund 142, federal programs?
No, that's it. There is one more budget from school nutrition, 143 cafeteria fund. Mr. Markham, you want to address that one as we look at? There's I think we're doing a fund balance from that fund decrease.
Yeah, so we're transferring some funds around here to make sure we have plenty of funds in those expenditure line items by June 30th. We're still receiving some of our invoices, mainly for food supplies, as we work through the summer feeding program. So there is a fund balance transfer there. We don't anticipate it being quite that drastic once everything settles out, but we're trying to make sure that we do have funds available. And you'll also notice here we had the temporary personnel. We went over that budget pretty significantly as well, kind of alluding to what Mr. D talked about. We had some absences that were above kind of what we had projected for the year. So all in all, and some maintenance and repair services, we had some large equipment that had to be repaired, specifically the dish machine at the high school, which is several years old, but we were able to get that repaired this year. So.
Okay. Any other questions for our for school nutrition budget amendment? Okay, then we'll move on to our policy report. So, in our policy, this is a time of year where we start having to approve policies, either new policies or updated policies based on legislative activity that took place earlier this year. And so there's 23 pages worth of lists as far as summaries of the reviews that were published for the various Senate and House bills, and some of those will be reflected in policies that we will have to adopt. Obviously, this will be a big topic this summer, next month in summer law in Gatlinburg, that would tend to update us on that. There were, and these are policies that TSBA is making recommendations. They having produced recommendations based on what these laws were. So there's quite a few of them, and as we scroll down through that, typically what we've done in the past is we have looked at those policies and passed them on first reading, and in a setting like this, and then we can pull those out for a main agenda item in our July meeting, especially those things that need to be passed and in place before the school year starts. So, Shadi, would you like to speak to this and make a recommendation to us?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I sent you, board members, I sent you an email on the 5th that shared from TSBA that had all the model policies in those. I don't have those clicked on and then imported in because there were, in some cases, there were, 5 policies per selection. So that was the best place to kind of go through and model and see those models. And then what I've put in your packet tonight is just the summary of all those bills, so you can kind of, as a quick refresher, it was kind of a one-page, one-stop shop there. So, but I will reissue that to you again. As the chairman said, normally what we do is unless the board wants to pull one out, we recommend those on first reading, and then it gives you another month to study those and go over and pull out anything else, any specific White County-isms or changes that we want to make to those and make in the month of July. So that would be my recommendation, and I'll be glad to speak on any specific policies if you'd like.
I guess there was one that caught my attention, or maybe two. The one about the local school board elections being in the same cycle. Are they, at one time they were wanting to have every school board election, everybody on this board be elected at the same time. That didn't pass that way, did it?
The way I understand it is when District 7's up for the county commission, District 7 would be up for school board.
Okay.
Is the way I understand that.
That was what I was hoping they were shooting for, but I know at one time they wanted to have a 7-member board and all 7 members were up at the same time. So essentially every 4 years you could possibly have a brand new board every 4 years. I'm glad that they maybe come to their senses and saw that would not be a wise decision. The other one, I guess, is Senate Bill 161, House Bill 1199, talking about the non-voting student member of the board. They were talking about only having one member. Kind of the way I'm reading it here, are we still in compliance and we can still have a junior and a senior, or do we have to cut it back to a junior or a senior?
No, I think with your leadership on that, Mr. Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, we were ahead of the curve there, and so I think we're fine. They had some flexibility because some other districts already had an advisory board of such that they were able to bring in. But yeah, I think the way this reads is we have the option to have both of those folks on board. So I think we were ahead of this policy.
Yeah, I know they were in talks of it only being one per district, and every district was going to be required to have it. I'm glad they're not taking it away from us, because I think those two folks that we have on our board every year are invaluable. I mean, they're good for us, and they're handy to have and to get an ear of what's going on inside the school to see how those students react to what happens at these board meetings and how these policies and procedures are put in place. All right, thank you for your explanation.
I wanted to ask that, something in there about the pre-K, and, are they doing away with where if there's only a school that's got so many under, the need assessment, then they're gonna open it up to other students? I read something like that in that, like you said there.
Yeah, Public Chapter 225, pre-K eligibility says if the number of at-risk children seeking pre-kindergarten enrollment does not exceed the class size maximum, this new state law permits districts to enroll additional children that meet certain requirements. So we practiced that, I think, already in the sense that once, and there's different levels based on if it's our funded pre-K or if it's the federally funded pre-K, but that is there's a threshold, and I'll have to look at the threshold. It depends on if it's federally funded or if it's funded locally. We have one we fund locally, so those are different thresholds. So we can allow more in our locally funded one than we can through the federally funded program. So I'll look at I'll look at this and get you an answer to that specifically on what the thresholds are.
Well, I just thought when I looked at it before, it's terribly an inefficient thing if, like, say Cassville only had like 10 students in there, but they could not put anyone else in there even though there were spots available. I thought that was kind of what that meant, but I didn't know if that really was what that was talking about. Like to get up to like the 20 students.
Which is what we do now, but there are the federally funded pre-K programs are a lot more stringent about what the dates are and how soon they can do that. So I have the bill here that I'm looking at, but there's just other criteria that those folks will have to meet. But that's exactly what it's saying, is that if it's not filled, then we can open that up to students that are not at risk.
I guess one other for me as well. How are we going to accommodate the recess law that's come in? You know, they went from 130 minutes per full school week to 40 minutes a day. How are we going to find the time in the day to add another 40 minutes of recess?
Well, there is no more time. We've been working hard on that today. We're trying to come up with an answer. One of the best things that our district has done in the past 20 years is the universal elementary schedule that we have, school day schedule. It's served all the things that the legislature has thrown at us in the past 15 to 20 years. We've been able to implement into that schedule. It does a really good job of reducing transition times and focusing and protecting instruction time. But at the end of the day, it's what we keep telling legislators: there's no more time in the day. You have asked teachers to do everybody's job in the world and by law and fix it into this 7.5 hour day. So to answer your question, it's going to come from instruction time, and it's likely going to come from mainly social studies and science classes. It's that's not a hard and fast rule. We're going to do the best we can, and those science and social studies teachers get graded, and just like the other teachers, they have accountability just like everybody else. But there's such an emphasis, obviously, on ELA and math, and the requirements there. There are a lot of specific minute times that are in code now that we have to do with math and ELA, but then there's also a lot of mandated tutoring and intervention that has to be done. Everybody, and if everybody still wants them to go to PE, and they still want them to go to art and music class, and those things are all well and good, but those will be next. We'll be dipping into those because those aren't things that by law that we have to have. There are no more minutes right now. Like I said, we're working very hard on it. What we're going to try and do is extend it. We're not going to have like multiple recesses, because if you have 2 recesses, there's also transition time to and from, and you lose a lot of back and forth. So we think to protect instruction time, which is our goal, is to educate students and not to play all day. So we're going to try and add that to the existing recess schedule. But it's a challenge. We're going to do the best we can, but it's a challenge that everybody in the state is fighting. My personal opinion is it's at 3 o'clock they can play all that they want, but the legislature is forcing us to squeeze it into squeeze blood from a turnip, and we're going to do the best we can.
A question about Senate Bill 1417, reporting of activities by school support organization. It exempts those that are booster clubs, parent-teacher association, and so on. Do we have any support organizations that would fall into this law?
I don't think so. I was looking at that earlier, and I can't think of any that would be out of bounds as according to this law.
So if you want to just reference policies, the best policy, PowerPoint policy that was sent on June 5th, so about a week ago, that contains the policies that will have to be updated where applicable in our policy manual. So what we would typically do with these being in consent agenda, these would be first recommendation approval on first reading, and that gives us till July 10th to bring up any questions, modifications that you said make them applicable to our district, but then we'd be approving those on second reading in July. So again, that will be a main meeting agenda item, so that way we can have further discussion, deliberation on that.
Mr. Chairman, I just put that PowerPoint in this packet in your for
Okay.
this month, so you can find it easily.
All right. Any other questions on July policy recommendations? Any questions how we're handling this? Okay. If not, then we'll go to just a couple other things in policy. This would be a first reading approval of 5100. State law says that our policy should reflect that the board's personnel goals are as follows. And first bullet point is to ensure that the director of schools recruits and employs the best qualified individuals to staff the school district. So I think that was to clear up some clarity on whether it's the board or the director of schools, and it is the director of schools, and that's our policy will reflect that. So that would be a first reading approval. The next two policies deal with just updating based on personnel change. Policy 5501, that's actually, 5501, that policy is basically stating we have to identify in policy the appointing complaints manager, and so we identify the male complaint manager for the White County Schools, and the person responsible for that is our student data supervisor, and so we're updating the policy to reflect that. And Then the next one is similar in fashion, 63041, our Title IX coordinator. We have updated that policy to reflect Ms. Stephanie Davis, who will be assuming those responsibilities. And so that's a change from Mr. Thompson's retirement on, I think, on both accounts. So those policies will be changed. That would be first reading edits on those two policies.
Two quick things on that last policy you talked about. I noticed the title has changed to special population supervisor. Is that getting away from the special education supervisor to get more in line with the populations across all the district? First and foremost on that.
That's just those terms are interchangeable. It's kind of like director of schools and superintendent. So that's how it's came from TSBA. That's how the board had approved it. I mean, if we can make that change, but they're used interchangeably.
The second thing on that is there a need to have a male counterpart to that as well? I mean, some people might feel, somebody might feel not inclined to speak about a sexual harassment or some kind of complaint like that. A male may not want to speak with a female on that, or a female may not want to speak with a male on that. So is there a need to add a second person to that?
So she is the coordinator. That is addressed in the previous policy in 5501. We have when you have a complaint, the female complaint manager is our HR director, which is Jennifer Rigsby, and then the male will be our student data supervisor, which is Nathan Aaron.
Okay.
And then as the coordinator, she oversees that program or any complaints that come in, but they originally go to the complaint managers. Then she's the coordinator, and then I'm what's called the decision maker in that process.
Okay. All right. Sounds great. Thank you.
Which is oddly what I have my wife call me at home too, the decision maker.
All right. All right.
Just make sure they get that on Stonecom. So.
All right. Moving on. So that's policy edits for 5501, 63041. First reading approval tonight under consent agenda with those minor changes. So then we will need to be reviewing our Section 4 policies this month, and I will try to get some more assignments out between now and next meeting. Maintenance report was included in our packet. You have that to review. Know that Mr. Alley's here joining us with us tonight. Thank you for being here. Any questions for Mr. Alley regarding the maintenance report?
Quick question. When it comes to athletic facilities that aren't a gym, essentially, who is responsible for the maintenance or the planning for upgrades or things that need to be done there? How is that determined?
So it comes from the principal. We have our meetings throughout the year. If there's something that comes up that's an immediate need, we address it then. But we have a meeting with the principals, budget meetings at the end of the year. We take a wish list of things that they want to have done. We prioritize that and then work within the means of the budget to try and get some of those things done. Mr. Alley, do you want to speak to some of the things that your guys are working on right now?
Well, to continue with that, if there's a time and a place that I can help, I will. It all comes down to money. So as far as our summer schedule, things are going pretty good right now. Chemistry lab's going well. The renovation of some restrooms at Woodland. I'm in process of dealing with carpet for middle school and Northfield. It's amazing how expensive that is. It's blown my mind. But so we've got things going good. I tell everybody that we're in the best shape we've ever been, but I could spend $4 million in the next month if you give it to me. So if you got any questions, let me know.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, I have one addition to that. We had put $25,000 in, I think, in our budget for this next year to work on a bathroom project with, in conjunction with the county, at the county tennis courts and basketball courts, which are located on the high school property. We think we have a plan to utilize their portion, the county's portion of the money, to handle the bathrooms. We're working on that plan, and then we're already planning to utilize our portion of that, the $25,000, to renovate the locker rooms at the high school, with the visiting locker rooms, which are in it's terrible shape. Yes, they're rather embarrassing. So we're working on that. I already started working on that. So we're thankful to have that money in the budget. We're going to get 2 projects done at the high school that'll help our community.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Alley. Any other questions regarding maintenance? Okay, then we'll move on. We don't have any school reports this month, so we'll move on to a budget report. Mr. Smith?
Thank you. And as I hope I do every meeting, thanks to Mr. Markham and his team for the great work that they do. The months of May and June are relatively busy months from a financial perspective as the county starts to wind down expenditures for the year. At the close of May, which marks the 11th month of the fiscal year, the county has added approximately $147,811 to its cash reserve across all fund balances since July 1 of 24. As discussed in previous reports, we continue to monitor local option sales tax revenues. Since December of 24, we appear to have fallen into a pattern and collection rate consistent with fiscal year 24. This trend leads us to believe that sales tax growth is flattening out, and the large year-over-year growth seen since 2020 is dissipating. While this is not of the greatest news, it's encouraging to note that we are not experiencing a decline in collections year over year. The General Purpose School Fund appears to be on track for a financial close similar to the previous fiscal year. This trend holds true. The fund will be in a good position to allocate funds for the Dole Elementary School addition out of this year's budget. Overall revenue growth is slightly below expenditure growth in the fund, but only by 0.25%, which for all intents and purposes is flat. The month of June will see a significant increase in expenditures for this fund as we expense both June and July teacher payrolls during a single month. Expenditures in the School Federal Projects Fund continue to wind down as we prepare to close out the various grants by June 30. Fiscal year 2026 budgets for the various grants of the fund will trickle in over the coming months as federal allocations are given to us by the state of Tennessee. The Central Cafeteria Fund continues to trend in a positive direction. However, increased costs have had a significant impact on the ability of this fund to add back to its fund balance year over year. Historically, the Cafeteria Fund has grown fund balance. We will continue to monitor this fund's trajectory over the coming months. Overall, we maintain a positive outlook on the district's financial position.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Any questions or comments on our budget report? Good to know that we're going to be adding some money back. So thanks again to everyone who's worked to make that possible, kept spending in check. All right, if nothing else, we'll move over to TLN report. Ms. Douglas, is there anything on TLN to report? All right, so not in session means that nothing to cover there. So sometimes that can be a good thing. Not that we don't like hearing your report, Ms. Douglas. So next item on our consent is you've been provided the monthly threat assessment report, and that was dating back cover the month of May. Good to see that nothing credible and all potential threats closed. So that's good news. You have your personnel report included in the packet. That lays out the applicants, the interviews, and the hires through that period of time, and so that's been included in your package. Any questions or comments on the personnel report? You also have included in your packet was the personnel changes for the month of May with additions and terminations. Any questions on personnel? All right, that brings the conclusion of all the consent items. Again, if when we consider approval for the agenda for tonight's meeting, if there's any item in the consent agenda that you wish to pull out for further discussion, let it be known at that time. We'll pull it out, add it to the new business. Otherwise, we will adjourn our work session. Thank you. All right, this is your 2-minute warning, okay? All right, this time I'd like to call the June 12th meeting of the White County Board of Education to order. If you would please rise, and Mr. Jason McDonald will lead us in the pledge. Thank you, Mr. McDonald. Appreciate that. Appreciate everyone being here tonight, board members, administrators, and members of the public. We thank you for your interest and your involvement in White County education. So tonight's meeting cover a variety of issues. This is probably highlighting on our list tonight is fundraising requests. We'll also be approving the 25-26 calendar, and then we've got a couple of new business items that were added to the agenda. Approval of the Ayers Foundation partnership with White County Schools, and also some policy change to 5100 that's added in. But before we get into that, just like to say that Tennessee Code Annotated Board Policy 1400 states that every meeting of the board is open to the public, except where law allows for a closed session. The agenda for the board meetings are posted on the district's website at www.whitecoastschools.net at least 3 days prior to each meeting. State statute requires that each meeting include agenda items reserved for public comment. Sign-up sheet has been made available prior to the beginning of the regular meeting, and individuals who have signed up prior to the start of the meeting to speak will be recognized in the order listed on the sign-up sheet at the point in the agenda designated for public comment. Board meetings are streamed with the help of Warrior Media. For live or recorded viewing, links are provided on the district's website. Attendance and/or speaking during tonight's meeting implies consent for comments and appearances to be used. So before we proceed with the agenda for tonight's meeting, I'd like for any board members that have a potential conflict of interest to disclose that at this time.
Mr. Chairman, as I do each and every month, nothing on the agenda tonight has a conflict of interest with me, but just for the record, my wife is an employee of this district, but the comments and things that you hear from me tonight are for me and in the best interest of the district and the students of White County.
All right, thank you, Mr. McDonald.
Mr. Chairman, my spouse is employed by the district, but my opinions expressed tonight are mine and mine alone.
Thank you, Ms. Officer.
Mr. Chairman, my wife also works at the White County High School, and but the comments and opinions are mine tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. So, Ms. Sims, if you would just please note in the minutes that Mr. McDonald, Ms. Officer, and Mr. Smith all indicated they have spouses working for the district, but nothing on the proposed agenda tonight would constitute a conflict for them, requiring them to abstain. So that brings us to the next item on our agenda, and that's approval for the agenda for this meeting. Board members, if there's anything on the agenda that you have questions about, please let it be noted this time. Otherwise, I'd entertain a motion for approval of the agenda for tonight's meeting.
Approved.
Motion by Mr. Smith. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. McDonald. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next item on our agenda is our consent agenda. In tonight's work session, we reviewed the items under consent for tonight's meeting. That was approval of the board meeting minutes held on May 8th, 27th work session, budget workshop, and the 29th special called meeting for budget approval. We reviewed budget amendments and transfers, policy report, where we reviewed the June policy recommendations from TSBA, which would be adopted on first reading tonight. As we also reviewed the edits to policies 5501 and 63041. Those would also be adopted on first reading for tonight. And then our annual review of Section 4 policies is in place. We had reviewed a maintenance report. There was no school report, school being out of session. Reviewed our budget report, and the district financially is in good shape. TLN report, there's no TLN report this month. Monthly threat assessment report, all items closed, and then we reviewed the personnel report that showed the transfers and terminations and additions for the district. So those are items covered under consent agenda. So without objection, then the consent agenda will be adopted as presented. Any objection? And the consent agenda will be considered adopted. Next item will be on our agenda is our fundraiser request for fiscal year 2026. There were a significant amount of fundraiser requests presented to us board members for our approval. This is the time of year, and we have requested that rather than fundraisers dropping in on us at various points through the year to try to get as much as possible, get fundraising requests presented to us prior to the start of the year so we can address fundraising and at one time, and rather than have that to be continually pop up through the years, and we don't have to make any special arrangements to try to get a fundraiser approved before a deadline or a need to start by date. So those fundraisers were presented in your packet. You've had a chance to review those. That would include elementary fundraisers, elementary school fundraising request, middle school fundraising requests, and the high school fundraising requests. So before we get into discussion on that in consideration for approval, I'd like to let Mr. D speak to this before we get into discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Board members, just to let you know that as we talk about pursuing excellence in our district, this is one area where we need to pursue a little harder. We have in the neighborhood of 130 to 140 requests before you this evening. Believe it or not, that's down where we were from several years ago, but we've got a lot of work to do in this area. Our process, I don't know that we're scrutinizing these requests well enough at the building level, and that's something I'll work with our principals to do better on, and with our athletic director. There are some balances in some of these funds that could handle the needs that these programs have, and so we'll be working on that. We're still using various forms. I don't know why we can't seem to get on the same form, a procedural form, but that's something we can fix very easily. A number of different things. You also, in your packet, some of these won't come to fruition. Some of them are placeholders in the event that if a team or a program gets to a certain level of competition, they want to go ahead and have the fundraiser approved in case they go on to the next level. There are also some of these that were approved that are really in-house things, like a bake sale or a T-shirt sale that would happen in-house if they're not going out and selling things. So there was a little bit of fluff there that maybe didn't need to make it into your packet. But just wanted to make note that we're trying to be respectful, and as director, I understand the economy we're in, and we want to make sure that we're not trying to raise funds just for raising funds. We definitely want to be more specific. Instead of saying we're raising money for equipment, what equipment? Approximately how much does that cost? And so we can be a little more transparent there. So I feel confident in presenting these tonight, but I also feel confident that we have a lot of work to do and we can get better in this area.
Thank you, Mr. D. And board members, anybody want to make any comments before we consider approval of these fundraisers? I would just echo similar sentiments as Mr. D. When reviewing these fundraisers, having served on this board for several years now, I do think the intent is better. I would just like to see us have a much more formal process of the way we look at these. And what do I mean, formal process? It's great to see that there's a current fund balance on the report. That's better than saying approve a fundraiser and you have no idea how much money that a particular organization has in their account. So I think that's good. But I think there should also be evidence from year to year that if we're going to be approving fundraisers, then we should see evidence that the monies for the prior year that they were raised and they were they were expended on their intended purpose. I do think we can do a better job than that at that, and I think that probably starts here at central office, working with the administrators. Kudos to those that use the correct form, but it was surprising to see multiple forms being used to fill that out. We can clean that up. That's an easy fix. But I would like to see if your account balance is $6,000 and you want to do a program, a fundraiser, and you want to raise $5,000 for a particular expense, then you're still going to have $6,000 in your account when it's done. At some point, somebody back up the line that went out and solicited funds for this fundraiser are not getting the benefit of the work they went out and did. So we need to next year like to see some progress being made in this area. Any other comments?
I guess I made a comment during our work session and would like to see, I know, we do see a lot of the account balances on there, but some of those accounts are pretty hefty. I mean, we have some in the $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 range on some of those that I know it costs a lot to do some of those sports, and some of those clubs, but we need to be using that money and not just banking it year after year after year. So when it comes time, I would make a motion to approve these.
Okay, so Mr. Smith.
Being in the fundraising profession, folks that donate to whatever cause expect it to be expended, for such cause, and reporting back out to the school board, the school system, of how those funds were expended. It would also be helpful to know how much for some of these activities, what is their budget? How much does it cost to run this every year? So to some of the other comments, being specific on, we have enough to run, but we'd love to have X piece of equipment or take X trip, and this is what we're raising money for.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Other comments? And I also think that, when you're putting a fundraiser together, I mean, you need to be thinking about it in the context of how much margin you're going to make for the effort. Some fundraisers requests look rather lucrative. Some I would question why you would go through the effort for that little return, but I guess that's the club's prerogative. But yeah, I look forward to seeing what we could do between now and next year to just improve. As you said, let's try to be excellent in this as well. So if there's no other discussion on fundraisers, then I'm going to ask that you've been submitted elementary school fundraising requests. I'm okay to I'd entertain a motion to approve all elementary fundraiser requests at this time.
So move.
Motion by Mr. McDonald. Do I have a second? Second by Ms. Officer. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next, we will, I'm just going in the order of my packet if y'all are following along with me. Next would be the White County High School. They've had numerous fundraising requests presented there. Covers various programs, and including athletic programs. It also includes booster clubs where they exist. So this time I'd entertain a motion for approval for the White County High School fundraisers for 25-26.
So moved.
Motion, Mr. Smith. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Douglas. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. And next we have middle school. Entertain a motion for approving the fundraiser request by White County Middle School.
So move.
Motion by Mr. McDonald. Have a second? Second by Ms. Stone. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next, we'll move on to the next item on our agenda, and that is approval of the auditor for internal school funds per our policy 2703. It's been recommended to us that this year that we solicit Mr. Buddy Dicus, CPA, for that to provide that service. Anything you'd like to add on that, Mr. D?
No, we've been with Mr. Dicus for many years and provides good, affordable service for us, and comes at the recommendation of our finance director as well.
Okay, so recommendation by our director and our county finance director that we approve Buddy Dicus, CPA, to perform our internal school audit for this past 24 for the 25-26. Excuse me, the 24 and 25 school year. So I entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Smith. Do I have a second? Second by Ms. Officer. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next item on agenda is approval for the fiscal year 2026 salary scale. The new salary schedule was presented to you for this upcoming school year. That did reflect the added $1,625 increase to that scale. And so, as you see, there is our salary scale for licensed professionals is based on their degree of education from a bachelor's, master's, educational specialists, and doctoral degrees. And they are based on whether various scales from 11 months employees to 10-month employees, salary scale, and we don't have any 12-month license scale, do we?
We have a principal.
That's right.
Yeah, a principal, and there's a couple of district staff that are 12 months outside of myself.
Okay. So the salary scale was presented to you in your packet. Discussion, questions on that before we entertain motion for approval? Okay, hearing none, I'd entertain a motion for approval of the fiscal year 2026 salary scale.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Smith. Do I have a second? Second by Ms. Douglas. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next item on our agenda is approval of the 2025-2026 school board meeting calendar. That will be the dates that we will be meeting. So that will start next month on July 10th, and will be the second Thursday of the month, with the exception of when you get into March and May. We've had some adjustments there. March, we have moved our meeting date back a month, back a week to accommodate for spring break. And then in May, when we get into that busy season of graduation, we've pulled it up a week in order to accommodate for Warrior Academy graduation. So school calendar for next year has been published, and all those locations will be here at the Board of Education. But as you can see in the schedule, that as we go through the year, we will be spotlighting our schools. We will just be doing those spotlights here at the central office rather than at their facility. There is been recommended a theme for this coming year, Artist of the Year awards, celebrating those involved in fine arts in our school. So, Mr. D, you want to speak to that a little bit?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I made a suggestion to the board. Each year we choose a theme. We did School Health Heroes this year, and thought this is a group of folks that maybe don't get the spotlight enough, and that's folks that are in fine arts. So I thought it cast a broad brush, pun intended, over a lot of different groups. And so you have people involved in photography and sculpture and visual arts or music or digital arts and ceramics, painting, a lot of different concepts, a lot of different kids involved in that. And I thought it'd be a way for our principals to be able to spotlight some of those talented folks. So that'd be my suggestion. And then as you see, as we go through the month, starting in September, our different schools are represented. We could invite those principals and those teachers and those students to this location and celebrate them on those given nights. So that's my suggestion for the theme for Artist of the Year awards for fiscal year 26.
All right. Comments? I think it's an excellent choice for a theme for next year. Brings some variety to our meetings.
And I think our principals and our staffs at the schools will appreciate not having to stay those extra late nights, on their month. So appreciate y'all allowing me to bring that forth and letting it get through.
Not a problem. We have two staff members that also appreciate your leadership there, Mr. McDonald, as well. They're smiling tonight.
I'll make a motion we approve this schedule.
All right. We got a motion to approve the 2025-2026 school board meetings calendar. I have a motion. To have a second. Second by Ms. Officer. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next item on our agenda is district update. Mr. Stromberger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's a very, very busy time here at the central office. I know a lot of people think they keep seeing me and saying, hey, are you enjoying your summer? And it hasn't started yet. It's a very, very busy time. I'm perhaps busier now than I am in the last month of school, but working hard with personnel changes, legislative changes, budgetary items, lots going on. But it's a good work, but it is definitely busy. I want to say thank you to my supervisors in the room, this team of folks, my cabinet, so to speak. They work really, really hard. They don't get all summer off either. They're up here. They have a little more flexible schedule, but they're here working, some of them each and every day. There's a group of them here working hard on finishing this year and starting the next one, and I appreciate their presence here tonight. We have several new hires, a few recent changes even as today. We're filling those vacancies as soon as we can with the best available candidates. We feel like we have some really good new talent coming in, and we're excited to keep things going in a positive direction. Speaking of new personnel, we want to welcome officially Dr. Stephanie Davis, our new SPED supervisor. Welcome to the team. She has had a foot in both worlds. She's still finishing her current job and working here as well, and so we appreciate her time, and thanks for being here this evening. Legislatively, next week I'll be sharing changes with supervisors and principals as we get prepared for next year. As you've seen, a plethora of new laws and policy changes. I'll be at some TOS meetings in the middle of next week as well, focusing on the legislative fallout. Academically, our TCAP data continues to roll in. It looks very promising. The data is still officially embargoed at this time, but we look forward to celebrating with you and our students and staff very, very soon. On the safety front, we're applying for another COPS grant, as it's called, the acronym, up to $500,000. Mr. Haley is leading that charge along with Ms. Sheila Felton. The main focus of that money, should we receive it, would be for protective window treatments, mapping of the school buildings, and some other radios, safety radios, and things like that. So communication devices. So about $500,000 worth of improvements. Financially, as you heard, we're in a good financial position. No new positions in this particular budget. Very similar budget to last year, so we're proud of that, and we plan to try and be conservative on our spending again this year. Athletically, summer practice is underway. Several sports already getting going. Several of our sports, like soccer and volleyball, will start at the first week of school comes back. But we are currently looking for a high school baseball coach and cross-country coach. And the TSSAA dead period, as it's called, is June 23rd to July 6th. That's a time when things don't really shut down, but they're as close to it as possible, and people take a little breather for a summer break. Building projects, as you've heard, the Doyle project has been given the green light, so the crews can start at any time. We hope to see some movement there in the coming days. Remodeling project at the high school locker room is underway as well. Several other maintenance projects across the district. Very busy time at the BOE, but at this time, that concludes the director's report. I'll be glad to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Mr. Stromberg. Any questions for our director?
We know how the summer feeding program is going.
It's going well. It's going really well. It's very hot. I have helped the last 3 weeks, and as many of the folks in this room that give of their time, it's going really well. I think we did over 500 meals yesterday or Wednesday. What is today? Wednesday, and we had similar numbers to the previous 2 weeks. One more week to go in that, but it'll continue. We'll continue feeding program through the library program, and I think somewhere else throughout the rest of the summer. So it's going very well.
All right. Any other questions for our director?
Summer school over now?
Summer school is finishing up next week. Yeah, next Wednesday you'll finish up, and so it's been going well. And we've I haven't had any major problems. Knock on wood. Kids have behaved well. Teachers are teaching hard. We were visited by the state, had a monitoring, and they were very impressed with our program. They wrote back how impressed they were with how hard the teachers were working and some of the instructional practices that they saw. So it's going very well.
All right. Any other questions for our director? Okay. If not, we'll move on to the next agenda item on our agenda, the student representative report, and we won't have a student representative report probably till September. So we'll make sure that item's cleared off the agenda for next meeting. Next, so that moves us down to public comment per policy 1404. Sign-up sheet was provided before tonight's meeting for anybody in the public wishing to make comment about anything regarding the district, and there was no one signed up to speak tonight. So that leads us down to new business. New business, we have two items, one that both will require our board action. One is the approval of the Ayers Foundation partnership with White County Schools. Mr. D can speak to this better than I can, but it had to do with career coach at the high school. We lost funding, but we were able to apply for a grant with the Ayers Foundation partnership, which is local here to the state in Sweetwater.
They're out of East Tennessee.
East Tennessee area, and so they fortunate to have them step in areas where maybe the federal government has stepped out. So that's great to have that resource. But I'll let Mr. D speak to that and what is required for us as a board.
So I apologize. I'm looking at my document here. Do you not have that document in your folder? Okay, I have this right now, and I'll be loading it as we speak. But we are very, very excited to announce that White County High School and the White County Schools will be partnering with the Ayers Foundation. They serve distressed and at-risk counties across the state of Tennessee. They bring in counselors to work with your students starting in 8th grade, and they follow them into post-secondary. They stay with them, communicating with them well into their post-secondary experience in college or in technical school. So, and they do that at their cost. It's free of charge, and they stay with you forever until you maybe don't want them anymore. But I've never heard anybody that didn't. We're very excited. I've been I've used the word harassing the Ayers Foundation for a year now, really trying to hopefully get on board with them. And we're so happy that they've chosen White County to partner with. They will be selecting 2 school counselors to put in our schools, and then they have a coordinator as well that helps, of course. So they'll hire 3 people to come into our building and live in there and be a part of our school family and work with our kids. And so really excited. They've shown great success over the years. This is a really good thing for our district and for our community, and I will put this in your packet for your reading pleasure, but I would hope that you would approve this tonight, our partnership with the Ayers Foundation.
Okay, thank you, Mr. D, and I really appreciate you being persistent in that. Like I said, we would lose that resource at our high school if they hadn't stepped in. We hadn't got that grant, and covering 3 personnel. That's big. This is a really good opportunity for us as a district to have that, to be able to have that resource to follow on. What will be in your packet is basically just the agreement between the two, between the organization, between the school district and the Ayers Foundation, and it's going to outline what they'll be services they'll be providing, things like sharing data back and forth, and making sure that that's done the appropriate way, and also lay out the areas of responsibility for both. Confidentiality and things like that will be stated in there in this agreement. So from a board, what we would be doing is we would be approval of that partnership agreement with them, so that could be fully executed. So any questions?
Just one, could it grow into additional staff? And how much control do we have?
It's based on your enrollment. I think it's 200. I forget what the ratio is. I think it's 1 for every 200 students, or 250 in a graduating class. So anyway, by their ratios, we qualify for 2. Our enrollment would have to increase in order to get more personnel.
What are the chances we're going to get to keep Miss Rushing?
I don't know. Hopefully good. I've told them if they didn't choose us, they better choose her because she's that good. But I know that she's interviewed with them or going through the interview process with them. We're hopeful to keep her. She was part of the Advised TN program, which was going away. So that was the one extra budgeted position that I'd put in our budget. But now with the hopes that Ayers would pick us up. So I know that she's in the interview process. We're hopeful that she'll be able to stay with us, and then they'll find another quality candidate to join her.
Any other questions regarding partnership with Ayers Foundation? Okay, if not, then I would entertain a motion for approval for the Ayers Foundation partnership with White County Schools.
So moved.
Motion, Mr. McDonald. I have a second. Second, Ms. Officer. Any discussion?
Did I understand you right that once we approve this, they're here forever?
That's what the agreement says, is that they'll stay unless there's some exit clause, termination clauses in there that we can both agree to. But once they're in, they're here. So
Okay.
as long as their foundation exists, as long as we want them there, they're here with our community.
Okay, sounds great.
So that means we don't have to worry about that funding getting cut. Knock on wood. All right. So a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right, next item on our agenda under new business is there is a policy update that we need to make, and it's regarding policy 5100, and it's about the board's personnel goals. In the very first line, it says policy should state, and it's being proposed that it states, to ensure that the director of school recruits and employs the best qualified individuals to the staff to staff the school district, and that policy change would be from the change to the director from the board, because we, as board by law, we only employ one employee. So that is the recommendation for changing. Would you like to speak to that, Mr. D?
Yes, this was just an addendum that came in after the packet, the email that I sent you from TSBA. They sent this one separately. So it sounds a little self-serving that I will choose it, but I didn't make this up. This came straight from TSBA. They made a recommendation for this change.
Yeah, that's based on TCA public chapter legislation that passed just this past session. So that would be included. This would be a first reading, just as the same would be for the June policy recommendations, but this was not included because it came after. So this time I'd entertain a motion for approval of amendment to policy 5100 as presented. Motion by Mr. Smith. Do I have a second? Second by Ms. Douglas. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Leads us to the next item on our agenda, which is old business. There is no old business on our agenda for tonight. So that takes us down to chairman's comments. Our next school board meeting will be July 10th, 2025, here at the White County Board of Education. Our work session will begin at 5 o'clock. Our regular board meeting will begin at 6. As a reminder, July 18th and 19th will be a legislative session in Gatlinburg. If you have any questions about accommodations on that, please see Mr. D. And we will also be following up with that with a board retreat that Saturday afternoon at the Park Vista Hotel meeting room. So that will commence in the afternoon. So with that, that brings us down to the final item on our agenda, and that's adjournment. I entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. McDonald. Have a second. Second by Mr. Smith. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right. Everybody have a good evening. Thank you, everybody, for coming.